Alfonso's here, the godfather of the game. Many years of wisdom, remember his name. Speakers on stage, they'll drop the keys. Unlock your power and seize the breeze.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Yeah,
Energy.
no,
I feel the energy in here.
oh man, we're excited. We're excited to have you. I should also mention Alfonso is a close friend of mine. We're both, Salvadorians at birth, and super excited that we could get to celebrate, both from a professional level, and then also when we've met up in El Salvador and had some local cuisine there at the house.
Looks
You
like
know,
you
and
two.
I
Looks
just
like
came
you two
back.
share the same barber.
yeah, that's true. Very true. You just came back from El Salvador,
I,
Alfonso.
I just got back.
How was
Oh,
it? How was your
it's
trip?
every time I go, it just gets better and better and better and better. And it's hard to explain, especially the folks here that are not from El Salvador. You just got to go and experience it for yourself.
Yeah, no, it's amazing the stuff that's going on there. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about, why Alfonso, the Godfather of real estate, is the perfect guest as we talk about decision making and how,
Yeah.
this is something that really is hard for business unit leaders, hard for entrepreneurs, and hard in general to get consistent and to get it done the right way. But, take us back to the beginning. Before all this Godfather of real estate stuff, before Wealth Genius, what was the first real business deal? What brought you up? What made you an expert in decision making?
So you want the grassroots, my first entrepreneurial venture.
Yeah, let's hear it.
And
Let's hear your
yeah, so
grassroots starts.
it all started with a problem. And when I was 12 years old, everybody had Michael Jordan shoes. Michael Jordan shoes were coming out, and you had to have Michael Jordan shoes. And we were immigrants. We came as refugees from El Salvador. We lived in social housing, and my mom didn't have much money, and so I asked my mom, can I buy these shoes? And she said, sure. How much? And I told her the price. She almost fell. She almost fell right to the ground. And she's like, "There's no way we're gonna spend, 3 months grocery money on shoes, And
Wow.
and so, that was the problem. I had a very specific need in my life, and so I went out there, try to, hustle and trade things and knock on doors, try to, shovel pave walkways, and there's no way I was getting even close to getting those shoes.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day we're playing football with my friends, 20 of us, and this kid comes by and he says, I'm leaving the neighborhood. And so we're in my neighborhood, there was three big buildings, three huge buildings. So this kid was doing the paper route in the building, and he
Okay.
says, I'm leaving the neighborhood. Would you, who wants my paper route? 20 kids there. No one
Okay.
said yes, only me. I was like,
Okay.
and I didn't even know what a paper route was. And so he shows me, and so the entire paper route was in this building. And so it paid $400 a month, four hundred
Wow.
dollars a month, and all you got to do is deliver the papers up and down, and it solved my problem. Now I
Right.
created a new problem. Um, the papers had to be delivered after school and in the morning, Saturday and Sunday mornings. Well,
Okay.
if you guys are old like me, you know that we didn't have on-demand type of cartoons, and the best cartoons were after school and Saturday and Sunday morning. And so
Right.
I'm like, I like the money that I'm making, but it's really cutting into my life enjoyment here.
Yeah.
And so, I remember sitting at my friend's Johnny's house, and I'm wearing my fresh kicks. I got
Yeah.
MJ's on, I got my Michael Jordans on, and he was poor like me, and he's like, "Whoa, where'd you get those shoes?" And I said, "Johnny, I got a gig. It pays me this much." He's like, I wish I had a gig." I said, "Johnny, why? How about we split the paper route? You do the deliveries after school and Saturday and Sunday morning, And then I would, and if you remember, if who's ever had a paper route, you had to go do the collections. I would do the collections in the evening or whatever. And because we did that, our paper route was so efficient. No one was, because by the time you're done doing the paper route, you can't do the collections. And so Johnny became my first employee.
Oh man, at
Yeah.
12.
At 12 years old, at 12 years old. So he got $200, I got $200. And because we were running such a tight ship, the supervisor of that area, he said, "Do you want another building?" And
Mm.
so I got a second paper route, and I ended up hiring my friend Sammy. So I have two. So that one paid $300 a month. I split that with Sammy. He got 150. Johnny got $200, and I was made. I learned the value of leadership. And because these guys like to sleep in, if they slept in, I was going to be in trouble. So I didn't want to be the one to miss my cartoons. So that was my
Right.
very first uh that was without even knowing I was an entrepreneur, without even knowing I was leveraging other people's time. That was my
Mhm.
very first entry into this entire world.
Amazing, amazing at 12. So let's
Yeah.
fast forward to as you build out now, your real estate portfolio and Wealth Genius that you've built out.
Yeah.
What was that first real estate deal and how did you go about it? What was that experience? How did it
Yeah.
shape
Yeah.
you?
So we're going to skip forward a little bit to
Okay.
at 15 I ended up living on the streets. I ended up running with the wrong crowd, getting into a
Oh,
lot of trouble. And what changed everything for me was that I became a teenage parent at 17,
wow.
1995, right? So
Wow.
my daughter's turning 31.
Wow. That's
Um,
amazing.
Her birth really changed something in me. Um, it got me to stop blaming other people for my problems. I had a lot of excuses when I was a teenager and why
Hmm.
my circumstances and why I ended up in that situation in the first place. And when my daughter was born, I realized that, hey, it's not all about me. There's this little human that I've brought into this world. Now I got to step up. And so in 1995, this is when I started my very first company. It was a clothing company that by the
Okay.
time I was 20, I brought it to the millions, with locations all across Canada. Now, the problem with that was that I wasn't very financially literate. I was obviously I've been poor all my life, and when you start making money, you start spending money. So I was very much a consumer. I wasn't an investor.
I
And then
see.
and then that met a bad economy in the early 2000s. And so now I find myself 24 years old, about to lose everything. And so I realized how vulnerable I was with business. And so
Hmm.
my idea was to create a secondary stream of income that was indestructible, Armageddon proof. And I started
Okay.
to educate myself. I started to study the wealthy and to see what they do. And 26 plus years ago is when I decided to start real estate full time. And I realized that the wealthiest people in the world, they don't have smaller properties. And so right from the very beginning, I got into larger apartment buildings, 7 units at a time. Then I scaled up to 10, 20, 30, 40.
Wow.
Now we're just under 1,000 doors across Canada and the US.
Amazing. Amazing. Like that's a dream. Great job in scaling to that level. It's quite the accomplishment, to hear somebody be able to do
Appreciate
that.
that.
And I mean, I can relate. Like, I have a passion for real estate.
Mhm. Yeah,
And I've dabbled, not to that extent, but certainly it's amazing to hear how an inner city kid, immigrant kid, can get to that level of growth. So amazing. Now let's talk about through that though. You built this organization, you built the Quadra group of companies and Wealth Genius into what they are today. And it sounds like it's been happening over decades, right? But what
yeah.
was the turning point? The moment you went from the guy that you own these deals to someone that other investors want to follow and learn from. And how does that happen? How does that transition occur?
Well, I used to think leadership was all about being the boss.
Hmm.
And when someone would say leadership to me, it was like, oh, that's the boss. That's you got to be a leader, you have to be a boss.
Okay.
When I started to educate myself on leadership, I realized that's the very first level of leadership. It's like, you got the title of the boss. If you want people to follow, you got to build community. You got to build super fans. And so
Hmm.
I did that with my very first business. I built super fans. I was very much involved in the community. We used to do concerts and events, and I would have I didn't have a business. I had a business that people would fight for, right? And so you get everybody involved, and now it transcends just being a regular business. It's like people are called to work with us. And so I sold my companies when I was about 30 years old,
Okay.
now about 19 years ago. And I had my real estate portfolio, and I realized I didn't have to work another day in my life. And so I said, well, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And so I wanted to live a life of fulfillment. I wanted to, obviously, I'm happy to be free of my time, but I just wanted to choose. I didn't want to stop working at 30 years old. That's boring. But I wanted to be fulfilled. And what fulfills me is helping people. And so I,
Hmm.
I thought, okay, you know what? I want to teach people how to build wealth through real estate and business because I built both, right? I mean, the reason I'm here is because I turned the real estate into a business. It
Correct.
wasn't just a sideline. And so I've been teaching for about 19 years people how to build businesses and scale their real estate portfolio. And I grind, like I didn't know about speaking. I thought people would just like sign over a check, just sign, do a keynote or whatever, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like that, right? I had to provide massive value because I'm not a celebrity,
Right.
and so I slowly started to figure out how this works. And the turning point for me, Hector, is the book Superfans. I don't know if you guys have read that book, Superfans.
Super fans. Let's put it
Yeah,
on the notes.
yeah. Put it in the notes. Patrick Flynn, Superfans, and the idea that I had before, because this is when social media was extremely relevant, and you need to have millions of followers, you need to have millions of likes, and you got to go viral. And what I realized is that you don't need millions of people. You
Hmm.
need 1,000 to 2,000 customers that you deliver on. You deliver on your promise, and you do such a good job that they want to buy anything that you have, right? Or any
Hmm.
other second generation product. And so that's when I realized that it was like it just changed the trajectory of how I was going to grow my business. I was no longer focused on millions of people. I just want to serve the people that are in front of me, and they will
Right.
talk to other people. They will pull other people. They will drag other people because they believe in the product and they believe in what we're doing so much that the business just grew organically.
I see. So it's interesting that your approach changed, from trying to drive growth through tech or through other marketing means to driving growth through engagement and through value add activity that as you
Yeah,
say, creates the super fans, eh?
yeah, yeah,
Now, as we pivot into your real estate, portfolio and the challenges. Now, I invest a little bit, as well, and so I know that real estate has a reputation to be known for analysis paralysis, right? We
hmm
talked about that as part of our teachings to our group, and so like walk us through your actual underwriting process decision. Like, how do you go
yeah.
from knowing that this is a good deal and like 3 to 4 non-negotiable data points that eventually you consider before you jump into a multifamily like deal? What would be
Yeah.
sort of your step?
So this is really relevant right now, Hector. I don't know if you knew, we launched a show on my
No,
YouTube channel.
no, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's in alignment with what we're talking about tonight, okay?
No way,
So
crazy.
it's
Okay.
called The Godfather's Offer. Okay.
Okay.
So your audience can go check it out. YouTube, youtube.com/Alfonso2K8, or just type in Alfonso Cuadra and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And so it's a series where there's three contestants,
Okay.
and they pitch me a deal.
Okay.
Then I go and look at all the deals. So I'm going to every city.
Ah,
At the end of the show, there's a boardroom scene where we're going to talk about all the deals. I'm going to ask all the questions, and I have to choose one. I have to make a decision on one. On every episode, I'm going to choose one person. And so,
okay.
what do I look for me?
Yes.
Number one for me is preservation of the capital.
Okay.
Warren Buffett, rules of investing: don't lose your money. Rule number two: always refer to rule number one. So the return on investment is secondary to the preservation of capital. So protect the capital at all cost.
Hmm.
My capital should go out there and come back with friends, right? Some
Right.
people send their capital out, and they're not sure, they're guessing, they're hoping, they're smoking the hopium. And so that is number one for me. Number two, then I look at the opportunity and I ask myself, what is the worst case scenario here? And if I can deal with the worst case scenario, and in real estate, the worst case scenario is usually, what if I had to keep this forever, right? And
Yeah.
so I have, when people talk about exit strategies, I have a very specific exit strategy: death. That's my
Okay.
exit strategy. So every deal that I participate in, every deal that I'm gonna take on, it's a deal that I'm willing to go all the way. The worst time to sell real estate is when you have to.
Okay.
And so
That's very true.
I never put myself in a position where I may have to sell. All the real
Hmm.
estate is buy and hold forever. Yeah,
Hmm.
I will sell a building when there's an opportunity there. Sure. But I don't bank on speculation or appreciation. It's all about the numbers. The numbers have to work today. And if they don't work today, and if I am not prepared to deal with the worst case scenario, then I'm probably not going to do that deal.
And that's amazing. When you really think about the application in the business world with that in mind, Alfonso, right? You
Mhm.
said protect the investment, protect the
Yeah,
money. And then
yeah,
we often as leaders in business, whether you're a business unit leader or an entrepreneur, you're making deals that don't necessarily always protect the money. You
mhm,
think that by making a decision, entering a new service offering, you may be gaining revenue, but are you protecting that money that you already have
yeah,
within your service and offerings?
yeah,
Sometimes that crumbles it, right? And so with that in mind, it's interesting. I had a group that came on a few weeks ago, and they shared a core value that they put together, and their core value was protect the house. And I
mhm,
love that core value. Like I think it's man, it's critical. It's
yeah,
one that every organization should really think about. And in this case, it's applicable. It's protect your stream of income, like protect your money. And then you talked about what is the deal that I can't, I have to let go. I have to cut ties with, right? And
mhm,
long term strategy thinking. And in the business world and business sectors that work with us, you have many opportunities where you make a wrong decision because again, you thought it was a good idea, you entered it, and now you feel like you're in it forever, and people just don't know when to cut that tie. And so,
yeah,
how have you pivoted in that? I mean, you've had a clothing store
yeah,
line, you've had all these other opportunities. How did you
yeah.
decide, hey, this is one I can cut off here?
So you're talking about when I want to let go of a business or sell a business or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what? For me, there's been lots of different types of businesses that I've been involved in. I've been in business for 30 years.
Hmm.
I started in different markets, and you know, I believe in leadership, right? So I want to
Yes.
develop leaders, and I want to put them in places where they can shine, right? And there's some businesses that it's easier than others, and
Right.
and so through the Quadra group of companies, we've gotten into a lot of venture capital and investing in other leaders.
Hmm.
And there comes a time where, it's not performing to my expectations. And in what I said before, in protecting the capital, sometimes I may have to even take a loss to protect the capital to move forward to other and better things. We are in Calgary. Yeah! And we are about to make history because for the very first time in Wealth Genius history, we are bringing the Expand Investor Conference right here to Calgary. And we're excited. November 6th, 7th, and 8th. Get your tickets right away because we're going to have over 60 different presenters, over 100 different vendors, over 1,000 different attendees, all at Expand Investor Conference right here in Calgary. There's never been a better time to get involved in real estate than right now. You got to come and learn how to optimize and maximize all the opportunities that are available right now. It's our 10th edition of this massive real estate investor conference, one of the biggest in Canada, and we're making history because we're bringing it to Calgary for the very first time. Get your tickets, be there or be square.
Hmm. And that may mean making tough people decisions.
100%. 100%. Both ways, right? You find you find times where you need help, and the entrepreneur says to themselves, "Well, I can do this for now. I'm going to hire someone later." So you want to hire fast, and you want to fire quickly.
Hmm. Now let's talk through that, because we're humans. We're going to make mistakes. But how did you know that the timing was right to act and to take on those tough decisions that most leaders avoid?
I tend not to avoid any tough decision I know is going to hurt me a lot more later.
Okay.
So I'm the kind of person that I want to address it. Like, if there's a if me and you as friends we got into an argument, I want to call you right away. Like, I don't want to avoid things because they tend to get the problem tends to grow the more time you just wait on the sidelines. So
Yes.
my style is just address it right away. Talk to, if I need to let go of someone, obviously I will give them chances, but I want to talk about it right away. Like, let's talk and let's see if there can be a course correction, if this individual is competent enough to course correct. If not, I have to say bye-bye. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
On the show, if you guys watch the show, there's 2 episodes on the show right now, and at the end I said I'm going to have to ask you to leave.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because we were teaching framework around these decision makers, and we talked about like what's important, what is something that you will have to decide, what's a task to somebody else that you can delegate that task for decision making to others
Yeah.
while keeping the balance of importance and high to not important and low, right? And then so, you obviously have a large team that you work with. So how do you delegate responsibility? How do you delegate decision making with your large team?
So I empower them first. So I start with small decisions, and then I see how they perform. And then I give them that role, right? I say, you own this role,
Hmm.
and anything that goes wrong, it's going to be your responsibility. But I am going to give you I'm going to give you wiggle room to make those decisions. And when we meet, I want to know how you solve the decision, how you solve the issue. Not, I don't want to hear problem, problem, problem. I want you to come with like this. This is what it was. This is how I solved it. Sometimes it's not the way I would solve it, but at
Right.
least it was solved. You know what I mean? At least it was, because then everybody can learn from their own mistakes. You have to allow that for you. You have to have that wiggle room for your team to make mistakes, or else you're the bottleneck, right?
That's absolutely right.
And so for me, it's I like to empower people. I do a lot of education. We have people in my company that have been with us for 25 years. And I have one lady, she's been with me for about 15, almost 15 years.
Wow.
She can go and work at Shopify, Google, and all these places and earn three, four, five times more, but she chooses to stay with us because she loves what she does. She's
Mhm.
empowered. There's no other employment that could give her the feeling that she gets, the culture that's been created within our company. And our company is kind of all hands on deck kind of thing. And sometimes we're selling education, sometimes we're renting units, and but everybody works together, everybody understands their role, and
Yeah.
and everybody is responsible for it. So that makes my job easier.
That's interesting you mentioned that because I was sort of leaning into my next question. As I know that you are, investing and evaluating different opportunities, there must be a time that you have to step outside of your core competency. And so what's your process for deciding yes, or like we go into it, or no, because it's best that we stay in our lane.
You know, Anytime you start something new, you will be outside of your core competency.
Okay.
Now, the thing about that is that if you haven't done it, it's going to be very hard to delegate it.
Yes.
So, there's no one that is going to come to me and say, "Hey, if I ask someone to clean up, it's not like I've never cleaned up before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?" So, I think there is going to be, you're going to identify that. Sometimes you think you're good at something, but you're really not. You know what I mean? And so you want to try things. You want to have tried many things in your own company, and it's just so you know that how it works. For example, we have lots of property managers. We have lots of people that are working for us, maintenance people. So I know how long things take because I've done these things. I know because I've cleaned the window,
Sure.
I've
Yeah.
done
You've
all these
experienced
things.
it.
Yeah, so so no one can lie to me and say, "Oh, I did it. It took me this long, or it took me that long." And so, I think there is going to be value in doing things that are not within your wheelhouse,
Hmm.
but just don't stay there. Don't overstay your welcome.
Interesting. So what you're saying is be willing to risk, learn, but adapt. Like
Yeah,
don't get comfortable in that state because that's when it could
yeah,
literally go wrong for you.
for sure, for sure.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
an interesting one. Now, you've had many partners, I'm sure, operators that have joined in with your deals. What's the framework for deciding who gets access to co-invest with you versus who doesn't? Because that's like a people decision, right?
Yeah, so this is going back to Warren Buffett's rules of investing. Invest in the leaders, invest in a product that you understand. If you
Hmm.
can't explain the investment to your mother, if she called you and say, "What are you investing in?" If you can't explain it, it's probably not something that you should be doing, right? So understand what you're investing in, understand the business that you're working in, and and trust the leaders, right? So bring on great leaders, or if you're investing into a company or a property or an operator, it's the leadership that you're investing in.
Yeah. Now, that's important because a lot of our listeners, a lot of our business owners are today learning to assess the leadership in their organization, and they are learning to develop as leaders themselves. And so, it's something that is still on the learning stages, but what would be one of those leadership traits that you would say, listen, you got to learn this. You got to master this skill. If you're really looking to be an excellent decision maker, an excellent leader, what would that be for you, Alfonso?
Build relationships with your people,
Okay.
understand what are their motive, like what are their motivating factors, like what's in it for them. you know um Everybody asks, "What's in it for me?" Like, when
Right.
am I, and I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs, like, when am I going to get paid? Like, I got to pay my bills. It's about your people. Leaders eat last, right? And so
Yes.
at the end of the day, build really strong relationships, understand the people that work with you. Um,
Hmm.
and one of the biggest things that I learned in my 30 years in business is go from I to we.
Okay.
When it's like this is my team, this is I, people
Hmm.
disassociate themselves with the company with because it's the leadership against you. But when you
Yeah.
turn the I into a we, if you and you could in the next week catch yourself how many times you say I versus we, right?
Hmm.
We're doing this, our team, right? If you make that small shift, you get more buy-in because people will feel more like they're a part of something versus they're working for a company.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a very cultural, strong point in that organizations miss the boats a lot of times
Yeah.
on culture and focusing on building the right culture. Now
Well,
let's
you
talk
you
about
you
it.
you'll hear it all the time. You'll see someone say, "I just want to thank my team."
That's right.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So what you're saying is it's like everything. It's like and I don't know if you probably have done John Maxwell stuff. I mean, John Maxwell is the best, but he talks about most organizations are like a pyramid, right? So on the
Yeah.
top are the CEOs, the leadership is on the pyramid. What you want to do is turn the pyramid upside down, where the leadership supports the people. And then the
Absolutely.
and then the people have ultimate buy-in, and they will work harder, stay longer, and fight for the company. You create super fans within your own employees.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you're right. John Maxwell has some key learnings that we've all,
Mhm.
learned from myself. As I've been an
Yeah.
operator for many years, and you take those learnings, you apply them because they're absolutely, powerful. Now, let's talk a little bit about a pain point. We've talked about a lot of good, a lot of great. Now, let's talk about that moment where your decision making was tested the hardest, a bad deal or a downturn. And what did you do? What did you have to change or pivot afterwards?
Yeah, always trust your gut. Always
Okay.
trust your gut. Your first instinct is always the correct one.
Mm-hmm.
It's only when you start to overanalyze things and you get in your head, you're dead.
Right.
And so anytime that I've ever had anything in my life, where the decision that I made didn't go as planned, it was always a result of overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
And I can go back to the moment where my gut said, "Don't do that,"
Yeah.
and I didn't listen to that. I didn't listen to my gut, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a ton of failed decisions that I've made, and I've learned from those to become a better decision maker. Also, a lot of people fill their mind with a lot of small little decisions. And so
Okay.
I have eliminated any small little decisions from my life. So my mind is fresh and available for larger decisions.
Absolutely. And that is critical. We've talked to our leaders and entrepreneurs about you shouldn't be the one making that coffee order. Right?
Yeah,
Like that shouldn't be you. If you're
yeah,
making the coffee order or you're ordering the staples, you're doing a lot wrong. Okay?
yeah.
Like there are bigger decisions that you need to be focused on day in and day out, and that's not one of them. Right? And so
Well, you're mentally exhausted, right? So you burn a lot of mental resources by trying to figure out what you're going to wear in the morning. And
yes,
so
yes.
I have simplified my life where
Hmm.
everything in my life comes to me. And so now I can make these larger decisions. So on the show, if I hope you guys go and watch the show, but you'll
Absolutely.
see that, I'm making multi-million-dollar decisions on the spot,
I
right?
love it.
And so there's no way I would have the capacity to do that if I'm trying to figure out, hey, where am I going to go here or there? For example, today to come on the show, you said I emailed you the link,
Yeah.
and what did I say?
Yeah. Text it to me.
Okay, so because I don't have email on my phone, okay, email for me it's a time sucker. And if you email me, there's a autoresponder that says if you want this, that, talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to this person, leave me alone. I'm never going to answer your email. You know what I mean?
Wow. Wow.
And so, you know, I really protect my time.
Yes.
And you know, it's definitely a productivity hack. I'll say that, you know, to be in a position to figure out how to not have email on your phone. Now I have email on my desktop, but I don't have it on my phone.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because I could truly attest to that model because you and I have talked about many times. I've said, hey, Alfonso, listen, like get WhatsApp. I'm going to send you some properties that we're investing in El Salvador on. Like,
Text it
let's,
to me.
yeah, yeah. And you're like, nope, I don't do WhatsApp. And I'm like, dude, like I've got several properties in El Salvador. Let's go into them. Like they look great. And you're like, no, no, no. Sorry, don't do WhatsApp. Text it
Yeah,
to me. I
yeah,
That's true. I just
yeah.
caught on to that.
Yeah, so you want to protect the gate. You want to be the protector and stand at the gates of your mind, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
you know, obviously, I do have Facebook, Instagram, and some of these things on my phone because I think those are necessary.
Yeah,
But if I can't have all of the things,
for
you know.
sure. For sure. Now, as we look to wrap up, what's one keynote advice you could give these business owners here as they are struggling in their business, today, making some hard decisions? What is it that you would tell them to go and focus on to help them make clear, more powerful decisions? What's the one takeaway?
Well, you gotta follow the successful people, right? How do successful people make decisions versus unsuccessful people? Well,
Hmm.
unsuccessful people take forever to make a decision, and by the time they make a decision, they already changed their mind. Successful people make decisions quickly and they change their mind slowly. So once they're in
Hmm.
something, once they make a commitment to something, they're in it for good. Um, Unsuccessful people make decisions based on their current situations, while successful people make decisions based on where they're going. Wayne
Right.
Gretzky said, "Skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck is, because if you skate towards the puck, you miss the puck." And so, the most powerful thing that you could do is understand your goals and understand the target,
Hmm.
and all you got to do is make sure that every decision that you make is in alignment with that goal.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing I'm going to say, going back to what we talked about before, unsuccessful people waste a lot of mental resources on all the smallest little decisions. By the time it gets to big decisions, they're just too exhausted. And so, um, successful people, what they do is they turn all those small little decisions in their life into routines.
Hmm.
And and you see Steve Jobs wore that same black turtleneck and the mom jeans for years. You know, Obama wears the same color suit, maybe navy or blue, navy or black. But anybody that's achieved anything, just watch what they do. They simplify their lives. One question.
Yes.
What the hell is this?
This is running away with your water bill.
You want me to sign a check for $3 million? Before this, I was gonna buy this building. No toilets. No toilets. Not one. Is there any toilets on this whole property? The 500K is not a problem. There's only one thing. There's significant capital expenditures. Do you guys have a capital expenditure plan somewhere?